Welcome back to Beneath the Surface. Today, we're diving into one of the most chilling and baffling mysteries: dead bodies found in sealed rooms. It sounds like something out of a horror movie, but this is real life. Imagine walking into a room, and there's a body, but everything is locked from the inside. No signs of a break-in, no way out. How did this happen? Was it a perfectly executed crime? A twisted cover-up? Or something even darker? Stick with us as we explore the strange truths behind these sealed room mysteries, revealing stories that defy logic and leave investigators stumped. Let's find out what really happens when the impossible becomes reality. Chapter 1. The Locked Office. The city never sleeps, and neither do the ruthless business leaders who push its heartbeat forward. James Edwards, CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in Manhattan, was a man who thrived on control. But when he was found dead in his office, locked from the inside, the illusion of control shattered. The morning began like any other. Edwards was known for arriving at the office before sunrise, always the first to greet the day with a cup of coffee in hand. His secretary, who had arrived shortly before 9 a.m., found his door locked and assumed he was working late. When she was unable to reach him by phone, she reluctantly asked security to unlock the door. What they found inside was beyond comprehension. Edwards sat at his desk, his head down. But it wasn't just a tired businessman taking a break. His neck was twisted at an unnatural angle, his body unnervingly still. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, and no clear cause of death. The office's security system showed no one entering or leaving the building after hours, and the door had been locked from the inside, with the key nowhere to be found. There was only one explanation. James Edwards had either taken his own life or had been murdered by someone who had complete access to his space and his security systems. But how could anyone get in or out? The investigation led to a series of cryptic phone calls James had received in the days leading up to his death, each linked to an anonymous figure in the business world: a rival tech company, a disgruntled employee, perhaps a lover's quarrel gone wrong. Every lead seemed to lead nowhere until a breakthrough came. Edwards' high-tech security had a flaw, one that someone with insider knowledge could exploit. Someone had orchestrated the murder to look like a natural death. But who? Chapter 2. The Abandoned Penthouse. Elias Knight, a reclusive billionaire known for his low profile and extravagant wealth, lived in a penthouse with no name on the door and no one ever coming or going. Known to be a perfectionist, Elias had no friends, only business associates, who rarely saw him face to face. His personal life was a mystery. But when his body was discovered in the penthouse, locked inside a room no one had entered for years, the mystery deepened. Elias was found sitting in his chair, a glass of wine beside him, his eyes staring blankly ahead. The room was perfectly clean, the air still and undisturbed. No one could have gotten in, and no one had any idea how Elias had died. The door had been sealed from the inside, and his assistant had a key, but she was several miles away when the discovery was made. The windows were shut tight, and no sign of anyone else entering the room was found. Detectives found that Elias had been deeply involved in a secretive world of high-profile investments, tax evasion, and financial espionage. Behind his quiet persona, he was connected to several shady business deals, including a series of shady mergers and acquisitions that involved powerful global figures. The mystery surrounding Elias's death led detectives to a surprising discovery. Elias had been working on something big, something so big that it had made him a target. Was Elias murdered because of his dealings? Or was this death something more sinister, orchestrated by an inside source who wanted to stop him from revealing something far more dangerous? As the investigation unfolded, Elias's closest confidants, each with something to lose, were drawn into the web of lies. Was Elias's death a carefully planned execution? Or was there something darker at play? And why was his penthouse locked away from the world? a place that seemed to hold the key to everything. Chapter 3. The Isolated Apartment. Samantha Clark was a social media influencer living in a chic apartment in the city, known for her glamorous lifestyle and her ability to turn anything into a story. Her Instagram was a curated world of perfect selfies and sponsored posts. But when her roommate found her lifeless body, locked in the apartment with no way out, the perfect life came crashing down. The apartment was pristine. Her phone was on the couch, her computer was still open to a draft post, but there were no signs of struggle. The windows were locked and the door had been bolted from the inside. Samantha's family couldn't understand it. How could this vibrant young woman end up like this? At first, the police suspected an overdose, as Samantha had hinted at struggles with anxiety and substance use. But as they dug deeper, they found something far more sinister. Samantha had been planning to reveal a major corporate scandal involving one of the city's wealthiest families. As her investigation into these powerful figures deepened, she had become paranoid, fearful that she was being watched. The night before her death, she had posted an alarming message: "I'm getting too close to something, and it's dangerous." That message was her last. The case took a chilling turn when the authorities discovered Samantha's computer. Hidden in her files was a collection of documents revealing financial misconduct, secret offshore accounts, and a list of names tied to some of the city's most influential individuals. Was Samantha's death a result of a corporate cover-up? Or was there something more personal involved? The investigation into Samantha's final days led to startling revelations about the dangerous world of power and money, where lives are destroyed without hesitation to protect the truth. But the deeper the police went, the more they uncovered, and Samantha's seemingly perfect life turned out to be a facade, masking deadly secrets. Chapter 4. The Corporate Kill. Mark Thompson was an ambitious financial analyst known for his sharp instincts and his relentless pursuit of the truth. But when his body was found locked in his office at a major financial institution, his colleagues were shocked. The door had been sealed from the inside and there were no signs of a break-in. His desk, once covered in papers, was now clear. The only thing left behind was a cryptic note written in a hand that no one recognized. Mark had been investigating an unreported series of financial anomalies that could shake the foundations of the company. He was digging into offshore accounts, shell companies, and illegal financial transactions involving some of the most powerful figures in the city. But as his investigation came closer to a breaking point, he was found dead, alone in his office. The questions piled up. Was Mark murdered to silence him? Or did he stumble upon something he wasn't supposed to uncover? As detectives dug into Mark's past, they discovered a trail of financial ties to people who would stop at nothing to protect their wealth. But there was one thing no one expected. Mark had been blackmailing some of these individuals, holding the key to a massive scandal. Was his death an act of revenge? Or was it a way to prevent the release of a secret that would have changed everything? The deeper the investigation went, the more sinister the truth became. Mark's death wasn't just a corporate hit. It was part of a much larger game. A game where the stakes were life and death, and only those willing to play dirty could survive. Chapter 5. The Underground Lab. Dr. Olivia Pierce, a brilliant geneticist, had been working on a top-secret project that promised to revolutionize the future of medicine. But when her body was found in her lab, locked from the inside, the world of scientific innovation came to a halt. The lab, known for its strict security protocols and cutting-edge research, had been designed to protect Dr. Pierce's work at all costs. And yet, she was found dead, alone, in a room no one could have accessed without triggering alarms. At first, it was thought to be a tragic accident, perhaps a mishap during one of her experiments. But as investigators examined the scene, they found a series of encrypted messages on her computer, pointing to something much more sinister. Dr. Pierce had been on the verge of a breakthrough, one that could have changed everything, and someone didn't want her to finish her research. The investigation revealed that Dr. Pierce had been approached by powerful pharmaceutical companies, all eager to get their hands on her work. But she had rejected their offers, unwilling to sell out. Was her death the result of corporate sabotage? Or was there a darker force at play, someone trying to stop her from unveiling a discovery that could change the balance of power? As the investigation progresses, the story unfolds into a world of high-stakes corporate espionage, government intervention, and scientific discovery gone wrong. Dr. Pierce's death was no accident, it was murder. But who was behind it, and what were they trying to hide? Chapter 6. The Designer Apartment. Victoria Blake was a world-renowned interior designer whose name was synonymous with luxury and elegance. But when she was found dead in her upscale apartment, locked from the inside, her perfect world began to crumble. Victoria had always been careful about her personal life, guarded even. But someone had broken through her carefully constructed walls, and now the question remained. Who would want to kill her, and why? As detectives pieced together her life, they uncovered a tangled web of relationships, from passionate affairs to rivalries that had lasted for years. But the truth was even darker than they could have imagined. Victoria had been involved in a bitter dispute over her latest project, a multi-million-dollar renovation for a high-profile client. Someone didn't want her to succeed. As the investigation unfolded, secrets about Victoria's personal life began to surface. Secrets that led to a shocking revelation. The person responsible for her death wasn't a random enemy. It was someone much closer to her, a trusted friend, a colleague, or even a lover. But who? Chapter 7. The Luxury Hotel. David Kane, a well-known businessman in London, had a reputation for being both charismatic and ruthless. When he checked into one of the city's most luxurious hotels, no one thought it would be the last time he would be seen alive. His suite, an opulent space on the top floor, was found locked from the inside. The door had been sealed, the windows were shut, and the balcony door was also securely fastened. But David was dead, his body discovered sitting in front of a glass of whiskey, his hand still gripping the glass, his face frozen in a look of confusion and fear. Security cameras from the hotel's lobby showed no one entering the suite, and there was no sign of forced entry. His phone was found on the bed, with several missed calls from an anonymous number, but nothing seemed to indicate a struggle or even the cause of death. Could this be a natural death, or was there something else at play? Was this death a form of retribution, or was David the victim of a highly elaborate crime? As investigators delve into David's life, they discover a tangled web of deceit, betrayal, and financial treachery. David had recently brokered several high-stakes deals, including one with a foreign conglomerate that had a reputation for using unsavory tactics. The deeper the police dig, the more they realize that this wasn't just a random death. It was meticulously planned, with someone close to David orchestrating every move. The investigation uncovers a deadly secret. The phone calls that David received were from someone he had crossed in his business dealings, someone who was willing to take extreme measures to silence him. But who would go to such lengths? And why? The luxury hotel, once a symbol of wealth and privilege, now becomes a grim setting for a tale of corporate espionage and revenge. But as the detectives close in on the truth, they discover a much darker undercurrent, a conspiracy involving not just David, but several other high-profile individuals. The shocking twist reveals that David's death was only the beginning of a much larger plan to bring down an empire, one life at a time. Chapter 8. The secret, Stash Gregory Wells was a millionaire who had made his fortune in real estate, but behind the closed doors of his luxurious mansion, he hid more than just his wealth. When Gregory was found dead in his private safe room, locked from the inside, it quickly became clear that this wasn't just a typical death. It was something calculated. The safe room, which only Gregory and a select few people had access to, was designed to keep his most valuable assets secure. It was a room filled with rare paintings, antique furniture, and stacks of cash hidden away in a place no one else could enter. But now, Gregory's body lay lifeless inside, surrounded by the things he had once protected. The only question was, how did he die, and what was the real motive behind it? As investigators pieced together Gregory's life, they discovered that he wasn't just a successful businessman. He was involved in a string of illegal activities. From money laundering to offshore tax evasion, Gregory had built his fortune on shady dealings. The deeper they dug, the more they uncovered a tangled mess of financial secrets and dangerous connections. What they didn't expect to find was the key to Gregory's death, the contents of his safe. Hidden among the valuables was a set of documents, secret contracts, blackmail material, and a detailed ledger of transactions that linked Gregory to some of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world. Someone had killed Gregory to get their hands on the documents, but who? The investigation uncovers a twisted world of corruption and greed, where lives are worth nothing more than the value of the secrets they can sell. The final twist reveals that Gregory's death was part of a larger plan. Someone had orchestrated the entire scheme to take down an empire, and Gregory was just the first domino to fall. But who was the mastermind pulling the strings from behind the scenes? Chapter 9. The Mystery of the Island Retreat. A group of friends had traveled to a remote island retreat, expecting a relaxing weekend away from their hectic lives. But the paradise soon turned into a nightmare when one of them, Eric Walker, was found dead in his cabin. The cabin door had been locked from the inside, and no one had seen or heard anything unusual. The other friends were in shock. How could this happen? What went wrong? The authorities were called to the island, but the situation was complicated. The island was isolated, and there was no easy way to access it. The group had planned their trip months in advance, but now they were stuck with a murder on their hands and no clear answers. As investigators began questioning the friends, they learned that Eric had been hiding a secret. He had been involved in a risky business venture that had gone south, leaving him with enemies who might have had a reason to silence him. But as the investigation deepened, they realized that the friends had more to hide than just Eric's business dealings. The perfect weekend getaway had been anything but perfect. It was a web of lies, betrayals, and deadly secrets. What seemed like a tragic accident quickly turned into a murder investigation. The deeper the authorities dug, the more they realized that Eric had been the victim of a carefully planned crime, and the island itself held clues to his death. The twist? Eric's murder was just the beginning. As the investigation revealed, the island had a dark history, one that the group of friends had unknowingly stumbled into. The island retreat, once an idyllic paradise, became the site of a chilling conspiracy. With every twist, every revelation, the friends' world began to unravel. Who killed Eric, and why? The answer would surprise everyone. Chapter 10. The Unbelievable Truth, the final chapter, ties everything together. From the locked office of James Edwards to the secret stash of Gregory Wells, every case seemed to lead to one conclusion. Someone was orchestrating these deaths from behind the scenes. But who was it, and why? The investigation revealed a shocking truth. These sealed room murders were not isolated incidents. They were part of a larger plan, a calculated scheme to take down powerful individuals who had crossed the wrong people. The mastermind behind these deaths had a personal vendetta, and they had been carefully picking off their targets one by one. As the authorities close in on the person responsible, they uncover a shocking revelation. The mastermind had been using blackmail, manipulation, and covert threats to get to their victims. But the final twist is even more shocking. The mastermind was someone they never expected, a trusted member of the community who had been hiding in plain sight all along. The final moments reveal the full scope of the plan and the lengths the mastermind was willing to go to. The sealed room deaths were just the beginning of a much larger conspiracy that would change everything. and in the end, the truth is more terrifying than anyone could have imagined. Chapter 11. The Final Revelation. Concluding Part. As the investigation reaches its boiling point, all the pieces of the puzzle begin to fall into place, and the shocking truth about the sealed room murders is finally revealed. The detectives who have been piecing together the bizarre deaths of several high-profile individuals, James Edwards, Elias Knight, Samantha Clark, and the others, realize that these deaths were not isolated tragedies, but carefully orchestrated killings tied to one man, Jonathan Sinclair. Sinclair, once a promising figure in the financial world, had once been on the brink of greatness, until a betrayal from several powerful figures had sent his life spiraling into chaos. A once wealthy man who had lost everything, Sinclair was now living in the shadows, plotting revenge against those he believed had wronged him. The sealed room murders were his way of sending a message to the powerful elite who had destroyed his life. But what made Sinclair's actions so chilling was the meticulous planning behind each murder. Each victim had been chosen because they were a part of the network that had brought him to ruin. The murders, executed in seemingly impossible ways, were meant to be a warning to those who thought they were untouchable. Sinclair had been watching them all along, learning their habits, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. For years, Sinclair had carefully planned each of the sealed room killings, ensuring that there were no obvious clues, no clear motive, and no way for the authorities to connect the deaths. He had access to information no one else could have, using a combination of insider knowledge, corporate espionage, and dark web dealings to stay one step ahead. His victims had been locked in their rooms, their deaths made to look like tragic accidents or natural causes, with only the slightest of hints to point to his involvement. The final piece of the puzzle came when investigators uncovered Sinclair's secret weapon, his ability to manipulate people. Sinclair had planted false leads, turned colleagues and friends into his unwitting accomplices, and used blackmail to maintain control over the people in his orbit. His obsession with revenge had been his driving force, and he had been willing to do anything to make sure those who wronged him paid for their actions. When Sinclair was finally apprehended, he was eerily calm. He knew it was only a matter of time before the authorities closed in on him. As he sat in his interrogation room, he seemed more resigned than remorseful, as though the acts of violence he had committed were justified in his mind. His only regret was that his plan had not gone according to perfection, as a few of his carefully laid-out clues had left the authorities on his trail sooner than expected. Sinclair's confession was chilling in its simplicity. He had no fear of being caught. After all, he had planned for this moment. He explained that each sealed room was a message, a lesson for those who had crossed him. He wanted to show them that no matter how powerful or untouchable they were not invincible. The final murder, the one that would have tied up all the loose ends, had been his greatest act of vengeance. As Sinclair was led away in handcuffs, the detectives were left with a sense of uneasy relief. They had caught him, but they couldn't help but wonder, how many others like him were out there, people who had been pushed to the brink of madness by a society that left them behind. The sealed rooms had become a symbol of fear, but now they were a reminder of the destructive power of betrayal, obsession, and revenge. In the end, Sinclair's reign of terror was over, but the city would never forget the chilling mystery of the locked rooms and the dark man behind them. The authorities had solved the case, but the truth left an unsettling question in the air. Were these murders truly over, or had Sinclair's plan just been the beginning? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the darkest corners of crime. The sealed room mysteries we've uncovered today are a reminder that even the most intricate and impossible crimes can be solved, but not without leaving their mark. If you found this story chilling, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more gripping, true crime content. What are your thoughts on the case? Did you see the twists coming, or did you find yourself shocked by the final revelation? Let us know your theories in the comments below, and stay tuned for more mysteries beneath the surface.